Okay, looks like we're live. Welcome everyone who has joined this live stream. We are delighted to have you all here. I'm Ariane Ortiz-Bolin. I'm part of the credit strategy and research at Moody's, and I'm also the co-chair of Conectamos, which is Moody's Latino Business Resource Group. Today we'll be talking about Moody's, and we are an integrated risk assessment firm. And in this session, you will learn what that means, what it is like to work at Moody's, how our business grows, our culture, and what career opportunities exist here. And for that, I'm honored and it's really a pleasure for me to be joined by three senior Moody's executives who will talk about Moody's Corporation businesses, which are Moody's Investor Service, Moody's Analytics, and Moody's Analytics Tech, which is also part of Moody's Analytics. But let me introduce them to you. So let me start first with Luis Amador. Luis Amador is the head of commercial real estate operating unit for Moody's Analytics. He has worked in the commercial real estate structure. He has worked in the commercial real estate, in structured finance, in high yield, and other fixed income markets for over 20 years. And he has helped build and scale various product lines in all these different business units and business areas. And he has also engaged with numerous financial institutions and investment funds to then provide solutions for a whole range of different capabilities that go from acquisition, origination, underwriting. So he has a lot of experience in this area. And before he joined Moody's and was the head of commercial real estate, as I mentioned, he was also the chief operating officer of TREP. And an MD for Moody's Wall Street Analytics, which was an innovative financial technology company that was last acquired by Moody's in 2006. So that's Luis Amador, who I'll let him speak in a little bit more. And then I see here on my left, Paloma Samalestin. Paloma is head of the Corporate Finance Group in North America for Moody's Investor Service, and she oversees the development of rating opinions and of research for corporates in the whole North America region. From 2010 to 2014, so before this role, she was based in London and was an MD in charge of analytical teams that covered a very diverse range of portfolio from telecom, media, airlines, real estate, and among other things. And before joining Moody's in 2008, Paloma brings 15 years of experience working in international corporate credit and banking with roles in Bank of America and Credit Suisse. And last but not least, here at my end, I have Dennis Clement. He is a senior director of software engineering for Moody's Analytics, and he works on the Credit View, which is a product that we have in Moody's.com. Dennis joined Moody's a few years ago during the acquisition of Race, a commercial real estate company that then became the CRE or CRE platform. And Dennis, I love this description of himself. He says he's a perpetual contractor that has focused much of his efforts over the years in taking companies that have legacy code bases and then shepherding them into the very ever-evolving modern tech landscape. So as you probably all know, this is a very important role in a very digital and connected world. So now that you know who are our senior executives that will be talking about different aspects of Moody's, let me start with you, Luis. And perhaps you can explain to our audience what we mean by saying that Moody's is a integrated risk assessment firm. What do we mean by that? And I would assume that many of our listeners and watchers here know Moody's as a rating agency, but we are certainly more than that. So it would be great if we can start with that.
Thank you, Ariane. And it's certainly okay to be known as a rating agency. We're proud of that in a very big way. Over 100 years of experience in ratings. But the company has evolved as well, and it's evolved into the research, the data, the analytics, the software building that makes up what the company is today. So when we think about global integrated risk assessments, we have a suite of offerings and services that come from both the rating agency and also the analytics business that allows us to provide customers with content, again, analytics, data, our traditional ratings, and also how our ratings have also evolved, and in an integrated way. But what we mean by integrated is it doesn't matter where you begin to use our content, what your primary key may be, whether you're starting with ratings or starting with research or starting with analytics or data, that the data is able to be exposed to you in a way that you can measure interconnected risks across different dimensions, based on that, regardless of your starting point. So we feel that by integrating our data, making it more seamless for you to use across those dimensions, that you're able to make faster, better decisions in an evolving market, a complex market where the risks have become increasingly complex to measure.
Thank you, Luis. And many of you can see that slide that we're sharing where we explain the three different, Moody's in general, and then the two main businesses that we have. But Luis, you are part of Moody's Analytics. So could you elaborate more on what is Moody's Analytics business and its mission?
Absolutely. I mean, from a mission perspective, it's really the primary mission for the whole company as well. We aim to provide our customers with solutions that allows them to make faster, better decisions. In Moody's Analytics, we focus a bit more on curating data, building software solutions, understanding the workflow where the content is going into, also writing insights, and producing a lot of analytics, and again, in a fully integrated way, so that our customers could make faster decisions. So from an analytics perspective, and a day in the life of me or anyone in the analytics side of the business, we work a lot. We spend a lot of time working with data, a lot of historical data that we've built up over many years of Moody's history, but also making sure that data is curated and then ready to be used in analytics that we spend a lot of time creating for the market. And we also help customers with software solutions such as banking solutions, insurance solutions, KYC solutions, where it helps customers screen things like financial crimes. We've evolved into climate risk, ESG related risks, and others that we'll talk more about today.
Thank you, Luis. And I mentioned at the beginning when I introduced you that you're the head of the commercial real estate operating unit within Moody's Analytics. So can you share a little bit more about what that is and what you do?
Sure. And for commercial real estate, it's actually one of the I always say it's one of the simplest to understand. What we do in our group. There are many risks that are associated with investing in commercial properties, lending to commercial properties, to managing a portfolio of commercial properties. So my team takes the same foundational building blocks that are used across any operating unit across Moody's Analytics and even Moody's Ratings, but we have a specialized focus in making sure that if our commercial bank customers are lending to borrowers that have commercial properties backing those loans, that we have the capabilities and are able to provide capabilities to customers that allow them to understand the property, the tenants, what's happening inside, outside of that property, the area. What are the impacts of new dimensions of risks? Like, is that property impacted by climate change? Could it be impacted by supply chain, by cyber risk? And so we have a fun job of focusing in a specific area. But the way we look at things and the way that we're structured across Moody's Analytics is that the same foundational building blocks are used from asset class to asset class, or focus area to focus area, And a lot of what our units do is very similar. We work with data, we curate it, we produce analytics, we produce insights, we produce software solutions, and we also produce research for customers.
Okay, to try to make it even more concrete to people that are listening, can you give us an example of a product that a customer will use in order to make this assessment? I mean, it sounds like we have a really broad range of data and analytics and models and tools that people can use.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of our newest products that we brought to the market just last year is a more comprehensive lending solution for commercial real estate. We were always focused and very good at providing data, trusted insights in the commercial real estate space. We forecasted a lot of performance metrics. For example, in the commercial real estate space, we can forecast where rents are going, where demographics are going, where vacancies are going, where absorption is going in a specific sub-market or market. But what we did, though, is we took that content and then we worked with our customers very closely in order to design the complete workflow of a lending solution. So when a customer is meeting or evaluating a borrower at the very beginning of an origination stage, the customer is able to use our lending solution to screen by KYC checks, screen borrowers by ESG related metrics, value the property given the financials from that property, and then underwrite that property and take it all the way to the portfolio monitoring and potential disposition of that property as they monitor the portfolio. So we've evolved from providing content that's a bit lighter weight that customers could use and plug into their systems, to producing the systems that the customers also can have the data integrated with.
So really, they can create their own bespoke systems based on the capabilities that we share, either with data or with the analytics, and completely be integrated with their systems.
Absolutely. I mean, the customer will make their own decisions ultimately on the lending decision or the asset management decision, or whether they're brokering a property. The customer makes the decision, but we empower them with the content, the insights, and what they need in an integrated way to make better, faster decisions.
Excellent. And what attracted you, Luis, to have a career at Moody's, and what career opportunities does Moody's offer from your vantage point, from the area that you manage?
No, that's a great question. So I originally started in a large corporation called the Bank of New York a very long time ago, and then from there I decided to work at a small company and really to see if I could help scale a startup to a specific set of goals. And then one day I met with a colleague, my colleagues now at Moody's, as we were presenting those products, and ultimately we were acquired by Moody's and became part of the Moody's family. Originally, at that time, I was skeptical, like anybody else would be, because when you're working at a small organization or mid-sized organization, there are pros and cons to the small and the big. And ultimately, the reason that I have stayed at Moody's so long, and why I love working at Moody's, is that you have the nimbleness of a medium and a small company. You're able to design, you're able to create your own roadmaps and control, your own destiny when it comes to product making, but also have the resources and the reach of a Moody's, of a larger corporation. So for me, the blend of the two is why I enjoy working here.
Well, I love that answer, and I'm sure we'll come back to you. But now I want to turn over to Paloma, and she can talk to us about what Moody's Investor Service do. So that's what people may associate with the rating agency aspect. So Paloma, over to you. What is Moody's Investor Service?
Yes, thank you, Ariane. Luis touched on it already, but Moody's Investor Service is really the credit rating agency. So it's the more traditional business. We are an independent provider of credit rating opinions and information, such as thematic or sector or issuer research. We've been in business for over 100 years, really since Mr. John Moody. There was a Mr. John Moody before Moody's. Since he started the company in the 1900s. And what he wanted to do was to provide the market with what he called a global language on credit. So in very simple terms, what we do is we assign credit ratings to companies or to institutions that want to tap the capital markets. So those credit ratings tell investors in those companies the type of credit risk that they're contemplating in their investment decisions. And we do this for sovereigns, for project finance, for financial institutions, for public sector issuers, for structured finance transactions, and for corporates. And I'm on the corporate side. So when a company, for example, think of Ford or Pepsi or Procter & Gamble, when they want to issue debt in the public markets, they come to us and we assign a rating to that bond or that loan or that instrument that they want to tap the market with. What we do is we inform the market with that rating, with the rating that we assign, about the credit quality of the company and of its debt, so that investors can really make better decisions. The market recognizes the quality of our ratings and our opinions. Now, in corporates alone, and that's globally, we have about 4,000 issuers that we rate. More than half of those we rate in North America. So you can imagine we have a team of very experienced analysts that spend a lot of time better understanding the sectors and the portfolios that they cover, monitoring the ratings, assigning new ones, engaging with their issuers, and really providing the necessary transparency to the market, explaining our views and our opinions. Within Moody's Investor Services, we also have credit strategy and research group that you belong to, Marianne. And we have support groups across the world, including an office in Costa Rica, for example. So that's a little bit about what Moody's Investor Service is.
I love, Paloma, how you really synthesize something that sounds very complex to something I think simple. And you touched also on how global our reach is, right? So we because we rate pretty much anything that issues debt, we can rate. We have a global footprint across many regions and sectors as well. And so I was going to now ask you on, as you were mentioning, MIS houses all the ratings, but also all the research. And we become, I think, even more transparent and more granular in sharing how we come to those ratings. And so we publish the analytical insights, the data, and also the framework, so the scorecards and methodologies that we use to come to our ratings, that then, we translate that into research as well. So, based on all of this, can you explain to the audience why Moody's Investor Service role is so important for the functioning of the financial system and of the markets?
So essentially, because market participants trust us, they trust our analysis, they trust our opinions on credit. Our ratings are forward-looking and they're live. What we do is we inform investors as you were saying, in a transparent manner about how we see the credit risk, the credit worthiness, the credit quality of a company's debt obligations, and how we see it evolving over time. What investors want to know is whether they will get paid back in full and in a timely manner. So that's why our view matters to them. And in very developed markets, such as the US, our ratings are really an integral part of accessing the public markets. We help investors better understand the relative credit risk of the debt instruments that they're contemplating investing in. We help them deal with complexity in global capital markets so that they can make better decisions. Some investors only want to invest, for example, in the best companies, in the most solvent ones. So they look for investment grade ratings. Some others want to specialize in the riskiest issuers, those that we rate at the low end of our rating scale. And for a given sector of activity, you can have companies rated across the board, rated very differently. If you think about the auto sector, which is a good example of this, you have the best credit quality ratings, the Toyotas, the BMWs, the Volkswagens, the Stellantis, those together with General Motors, those are rated investment grade, anywhere between A1 to Baa3. That's our, some elements of our scale. But you also have Ford, which is rated a Ba2, or Aston Martin, which is rated Caa1. So you have, for the same sector, ratings all over the place. And as you mentioned, Ariane, we operate globally, right? But in some regions, for example, in Latin America, we also have a more domestic presence. And that really shows a strong commitment to the region. So we have Moody's Local. And Moody's Local provides domestic ratings. Those are credit opinions that really are reflecting relative risk of entities issuing in a certain country and based on country-specific credit rating methodologies. That would be the case for Argentina, for Mexico, for Brazil, for Bolivia, for Peru, for Panama, for Uruguay. So we do operate globally, but we also have an appreciation for the local credit dynamics. And really from, again, local governments to the biggest corporations, our credit ratings serve as that global language of credit.
So I'm trying to synthesize many of the elements that you said, but I would say that we're a trusted opinion that is also independent, and so that can help investors navigate through the noise and use our ratings as a benchmark and as a way to inform their decisions, knowing that there's a long process and we trusted analysts and individuals behind those ratings, and that's really the importance that we bring to the markets. So just going a little bit more on the responsibilities that you, Paloma, have within MIS. Can you elaborate more what it means to be the head of corporate banking for all North America?
So I have the pleasure of working with a team of very experienced credit professionals. That would be the lead analysts and their managers. And that team provides the ratings and the opinions on the corporates that we rate for North America. They assign and they monitor the ratings. They are the experts in the sectors of coverage. They serve our issuers. They manage those relationships for the long term. They serve investors and they serve the market at large. And they really explain our views, our ratings with transparency. They use reports, but they also use digital assets and webinars. They do a lot of outreach. And what we're doing is constantly connecting the credit dots and trying to really better understand how the macro drivers, for example, affect sector dynamics, and within that, the relative positioning of issuers that we rate. So when you're thinking about lower GDP growth or higher inflation or supply chain disruptions or a war in Eastern Europe or higher interest rates in the US, for example, what does it all mean for credit quality? So that's what the team does on an ongoing basis. And this year, for example, we've also rolled out ESG scores, and those are additional elements of transparency around the influence of environmental, of social, of governance considerations in our ratings. So our ratings and our views, as I mentioned earlier, are live. And our work today is very, very complex and very, very much interconnected. So we need to keep on our toes constantly. We can't afford to be complacent.
You made me wonder that when I was much younger and I didn't really understand credit, I would assume that ratings are based solely on, you look at the financial statements and you look at growth and you make a view on what the credit quality of a company is. But really, it really requires you to understand many multiple factors that could affect credit from macro to social to environmental to financial, of course. But it's much more than that. So you need a methodology, you need a framework, you need experienced people, and you need collaboration across different teams to get there.
That's right.
Now, Paloma, as I mentioned earlier, when I introduced you, you have a long, vast experience in international corporate banking in Bank of America, in Credit Suisse. You lived in London, in Spain, and so then you came to Moody's. So can you tell our list, who are listening here, what attracted you to Moody's as opposed to other great opportunities that you had before?
Well, after many years in banking, Moody's really offered the possibility of putting my credit skills to use in a different way, in a way that was going to be much more public, much more relevant, and much more impactful. I think every rating decision that we take at Moody's matters. It matters to somebody in the market. Our views really, again, they matter a lot. They matter to our issuers, they matter to our investors, they matter to the market as a whole. And you have many in this role. You have many customers to serve. You have to always be at the top of your game, right? So I was attracted by the tremendous intellectual power, the sector expertise, the authoritative views, the ability to work with very talented people, and you've just said it, in a very collaborative environment. So those are some of the reasons why I joined the company 14 and a bit years ago. And I did join as a lead analyst. I did join in the Madrid office, but then I moved. I moved countries twice. As you said, I went to live in London for the second time. I took on different responsibilities, and eventually I ended up in New York, where I've been for the last 9 years. And what I'm really pleased to report is that it remains that kind of place, the kind of place that I joined, where you really come in every day and you don't know what new puzzle you will get to solve, but you know that you will get to the right outcome, to the right decision, with the support of your colleagues, very much together as a team. And I would say that in general, people love what they do here. And the role of a credit rating analyst is very special, very unique in the capital markets. It's very critical. But also the access that we have is unparalleled. And that's one of the reasons why people stay and why people grow.
I love that you touched on the relevance that we have. I mean, it was part of the reason why our role is so critical to the markets, but then that also means that what you do has a real impact in the world. And so we take a great honor and responsibility, the responsibility that we have, that when we're issuing a rating, we know the implications and how much it will affect the credit. And so we take that with great responsibility. And I want to come back to you, Luis, and to Paloma, but I really want now the audience to meet Dennis. And you'll realize how important tech and systems and the digital economy is to us by having him in this important panel. And Dennis, your division of MA Tech is within Moody's Analytics. And as I was mentioning, it's becoming ever more important. So can you elaborate more on what you do and what your department does?
Yeah, so excuse me. So I have the great kind of pleasure to work on CreditView, which is one of the kind of primary platforms, right, that Moody's has. And we definitely are the kind of centralized place where we are bringing and aggregating data from a slew of different places, right, and being able to, the way I kind of state my department is we're kind of the sausage making factory, right? We are bringing things from all different places. We're creating then tools on top of all of that data, right? So that we can give our customers, the information that they need, how they need it, why they need it. And, one of the interesting parts that we get to do too is there are so many different types of users at Moody's. And, one of the pleasures that we have is to try to personalize, the experiences that we get to, provide. So depending on the type of user you are, we are going to be able to surface the kind of data that you need compared to somebody else. And, more than anything else, really, it's a really interesting kind of place to solve problems, right? We are not only taking data problems, right, so that we are, aggregating data from so many different places to put it in a place where people much smarter than me can create really complex models, right, to provide to our users, right, as well as then creating the user experience needed, right, so that we can provide our users really the information that they need in the kind of way that they want it.
I think that your job has become quite important in this world where we have so much information and there's so much content out there. So if it's not curated in the right way and it's not presented to me in the, what I actually need, then you can turn elsewhere. So, that our research and what we do is quite relevant, but if we're not presenting it in the right way, then it's just, we lost have the battle. And so I want to now ask you, what career opportunities does your department offer? Because one would think that you have to be a software engineer or a computer scientist to be able to work there, but that's probably not true either. So can you elaborate more on that?
One of the more interesting things I think about technology, right, and technologists is it really doesn't matter where you come from. I think some of the most brilliant, developers I have ever talked to have come from music backgrounds, art history majors, right? There is kind of the people that come to technology, right, are usually just people who want to solve problems, right? And people who have the type of kind of mindset to really like break down, right, complex systems into, small little building blocks that we can create. So, from my point of view, I actually come from a biomedical engineering background. And I definitely never used that ever in my life. I really preferred the, ability to kind of, really just solve other people's problems. So I feel like technology and, software engineering as a whole is kind of unique in that aspect, right? Because we definitely accrue people sometimes that come to, software engineering late in their life, right? As second, third, fourth careers sometimes. Right. Or, right out of college that, they sat there and they took apart computers at some point. Right. That is kind of how I got into technology. I took apart computers, I put them back together, and then it's kind of set me on my path.
So, thinking on what are the backgrounds that you already elaborated on, but I would seem that you need just critical thinkers and people that are creative and curious and can work with other people. Would that be a fair simplification?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think I do have to state, I think sometimes software engineers get a really bad rep, right? Because they say that we aren't people able to communicate to others, right? We're usually just people sitting there in a box somewhere in a corner, just like, slapping on a keyboard as fast as humanly possible. But that's not how we work. We work in, large collaborative groups, right? Where we are talking to each other on a day-to-day, honestly, like moment to moment basis where we are trying to solve real world problems.
Great. So I think that will conclude our prepared questions, if you will. And now I'm going to open it up to the audience. So, whatever technology you're using to live stream this, you can submit your comments and we can see them. And I'll do my best to ask all the questions you may have. But I have one here to start in the meantime while you think of what you want to ask us. What three characteristics do you associate with Moody's culture and why? And I don't know, whoever wants to take this question first, I will be really curious to know what each other of you say. Maybe Luis, since you haven't spoken in a while.
Sure. So if I had to pick just three, I think I would pick having a collaborative culture, right? Another would be having an open mindset. Right, so we do a lot of research and debate, and we do it in a constructive way, and we have a lot of fun with it. And I would say also execution oriented. We want to make sure that we hit our milestones on time, that we deliver to the customer, what they expect from us, and just by the number of times that we mentioned the word customer on this Zoom session, I mean, it just shows you how customer centric. So out of 4, customer centric the person needs to be to excel at Moody's.
Collaboration and then execution. Focus on execution. I like that. What about you, Paloma?
What comes to mind is intellectual curiosity. So we are problem solvers, credit or tech or something, but we, I think, are always learning. And if we're not, then there's something wrong with us, not with the environment, because we never have. It doesn't feel that we ever have all the answers to the questions that we pose. So I think intellectual curiosity is a very important feature. It is a people business because it's built on opinions, right? So our people are opinionated because our views matter, as I mentioned earlier. And every person has a view, and we encourage everyone to engage. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is passion. Again, a business that's built around people and around opinions and around views and around intellectually curious people. You want to have that passion, that enthusiasm, that ability to overcome the next obstacle and get to the right outcome after it. So those would be my three.
Oh, that's great. Dennis, is there anything else that you can add? Maybe we stole all the ideas.
They definitely stole a good chunk of my thunder, but I think I'll add, especially from the tech side, right? We have innovation. Right. And, I'm currently now at the AWS reInvent, right, in Las Vegas. And, they asked my team to present. There's a couple other teams, right, from Moody's that are presenting at this, incredibly large tech summit. And, that's kind of one of the things that I really love about being here is I get the freedom to innovate, to push standards, right? We are, very much on the bleeding edge of using serverless technologies, right? And, kind of solving some of the problems at scale, right? Which is really cool. And I think that's what differentiates, Moody's, which is a large company that gets, millions and millions of visits and views. And, let's really be honest, people that try to hack us. And it's kind of, those are problems I don't think that you would normally see in smaller companies. So our ability to innovate is, I think, what puts us kind of over the edge.
That's great. Thinking of what you all mentioned, I would say that the one thing I would stress is looking back on something that Paloma mentioned about that we are opinionated people. I do think that we have, I would say, not as hierarchical. So we really value everyone's opinions, and we also really care about our diversity because we think that having diversity of backgrounds of every sort of background, ethnic, cultural, wherever you're from, doesn't really matter. We want to have that diversity because we think it leads us to better outcomes, better decisions. And it's really core to our belief, and I feel it every day, and I'm very proud of it. So I think that you will all agree with that. So I'm looking here that we're starting to get some questions. Before I get to those, I wanted to ask Dennis something that I don't want to forget. You mentioned innovation, you make different technology. What kind of platforms of technology are you talking about, Dennis, that you use?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're an AWS shop, right? Which is hence the AWS world. And one of the kind of fulcrums of that is being able to move data around, right? So our data ETL processes, right, are incredibly complex, right? We use technologies like Python and Java and TypeScript, right, both on the back end and the front end. Our one of the things that we're pushing for that allows us to serve, millions, and I'm really saying millions of visits, right, is the ability to scale our serverless backends, right? And that is definitely something that, as I said before, we're really pushing the bounds on how we are doing that, right? On the front end side, right? Because no matter how good your data is, if you're not able to create the tooling to kind of do that, right? Our front end is built on React, right? And we are definitely spearheading some really interesting concepts that allow us to have many, many teams working simultaneously, right? And all being able to push out code, right? Kind of whenever it is that they want to do that, right? Into a centralized platform, right? And it's some really interesting and cool stuff. And for anybody, I think, that's trying to move themselves into the technology world, right? I will, forever state if you are, if you want to be a web developer, right? TypeScript, React is definitely where I would push people. And, for backend technologies, we also actually implement TypeScript there as well, and also Python. So, I would highly suggest if anybody is moving or thinking about a career in technology, that is where I would steer you.
Hello, there's some really practical tips. Maybe someone actually wants to make sure that they learn those skills if they want to enter a career in a place like Moody's. There's a really interesting question here that any of you can take. It says, did any of you ever have what felt like a career setback? And if so, how did you handle that setback? Who wants to take that one?
I can take it. Yes. But I think you have to, overcome the frustration and the disappointment, and maybe think about why it is that happened, really, what it is that you could learn from it, and how you can turn that to your advantage for making you better prepared to handle the next setback, because there will be another one, but you may be stronger when you face it. So I think setbacks are there for a reason. They happen. They happen for good reason. There's something to make of them that makes them a little bit more important than would otherwise be the case. So don't stop at the frustration. Don't stop at the disappointment. Ask yourself, why is this happening to me now, and how can I turn it to my advantage?
Yeah, I think Paloma, you said it very well, that there are going to be more than one set of setbacks in your career, and that when they happen, there are moments of self-reflection, ways to sharpen the tool set, that you bring to the table, ways to explore and broaden, your horizons. So they're great learning experiences. I could tell you that for me, and I'm sure Paloma would agree, and Dennis, that without those setbacks, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Absolutely.
Do you think sorry, go ahead.
I'll add just one little piece to that, which I think is interesting in tech, which is technology changes every couple of years. And I've had programming languages that I built an entire career off of, right? At one point, I was an ActionScript developer, and at some point, Steve Jobs sat there and said, there will never be Flash ever again. And, I thought at one point, I'd be like, how am I ever going to make a living? How am I going to be a developer? And, what it really puts you to do is learn. You as in technology, or I think in anything, you are just always learning and always increasing your trait, whatever that may be. And because I've had those setbacks and I've had to learn new things, and those things have disappeared on me, but I still have that, and I have that experience, and it has always been a kind of a nice little thing to have in my tool belt.
So I would say that translates to being flexible and open to reinvent yourself. And from what Luis and Paloma said, it's about trying to turn how that setback can make you stronger. But I would assume what I was going to ask you, if you probably don't have that clarity at the moment, so you may need to let it sit and then take it on and then act on it, right? Because it might not be as easy. I had another question here from the audience, which was, how do we get hired? Which I love. So you can go to moodys.com and then in careers, or do in a search jobs, and then we have open what opening and positions we have available all the time. So check that periodically, and sometimes, and I'll speak your experience. When I was younger looking for a job, you would think that you submit those things and they go to a black box and no one knows it. But I'll tell you in all honesty that in Moody's we do use that as a main source for us to look at candidates, get your resumes, get to know who you are, and then reach out to you. So please use that resource that we have to explore what career opportunities there are here at Moody's. looking here for any more comments and questions, but is there anything else that Dennis, Luis, Paloma, I did not ask you and you really wanted to share?
I would add that if you're early in your career, just know that you should really focus on impact and the impact you're making to not only you and your own career, but the impact you're making to the team around you. So as you move up in your career, impact in the role and what kind of impact you're making to your teammates. We look for those types of people that are making the people around them better.
I think the cultural fit is very important as an element in a career change decision, right? So if the values of a company don't really align with yours, think twice about joining that company, because you may be disappointed too early and you may not enjoy it. So you have to be that alignment pays back in the future if you join companies that really you feel you can get you can be part of the culture very, very quickly.
And Paloma, I think that's great because I think it's a little piece of self-flattery that I'm going to do now, right? But I had somebody tell me that they were incredibly happy that I wasn't a boss like Elon Musk, and I think that goes again to the cultural fit, right? And being in a place that you're learning and you're learning from others and you're creating an impact, but that you're also enjoying your day-to-day experience.
That's great. I would also add that Moody's is a company that's growing very quickly, so opportunities tend to open up. Before you realize it, there are opportunities that open up that are unexpected, and be ready because with fast-growing companies, you get the advantage of that. What you may be doing now may be different in a couple of years.
Luis, here comes a question directly to you. It says that what is the biggest challenge in the industry in CRE or CRE at the moment?
That's a good question. I would say in commercial real estate, the biggest challenge at the moment is that you have the macro environment where you have high inflation. You've got interest rates that have gone up, and it's become more expensive for even commercial real estate owners to buy commercial properties. So the net effect of that is that you're seeing a lower number of transactions, and liquidity in the market has leveled a bit because of the fact that the macro environment right now is impacting not only commercial real estate but many markets, there are times like this where our tools and our services and our products are the most critical, where we are spending the most time with our customers, helping them make the informed decisions they need to make. Because whenever you have volatility in the market like we have now, that's where a lot of our tools are most needed.
Credit strategy and research, and what you said really resonated with my world as well. So I think it's this macro environment, and I was thinking that Paloma, perhaps you would say a similar answer to what Luis said.
Absolutely, on both counts. First, that the macro environment is so uncertain, and there's so many risks and headwinds ahead that it makes our roles that much more interesting, because that's when we can provide the most value to our customers that are trying to analyze and pick up on the best sound bites, right? So all of the investment of our teams, this is when it really comes to the fore, because of the impact, because of the relevance, because when complexity is so prevalent, those decisions become much more difficult to make, and the market trusts our views. So it's our moment.
so the market really trusts us to be the credit compass to tell them where to look at risk, where to look at opportunity, and to distinguish among all the different issuers that we rate, and use our rating scale to make those differentiation, and also use our models and our inside data to help them inform those decisions. So it goes back to our better decisions, which is one of our mottos. I think we're coming to the close of our session. I do want to close with one last question to all of you. I know Rob Faber, who is our CEO, likes to say that he wants to make sure that Moody's is a place where people want to come and then stay. And it is no secret that many of the people that join Moody's don't leave and really build careers here, which I think is unusual in an industry where there's rapid change and moving across different industries. So can any of you offer why you think that is? What makes Moody's so special and a place where people want to come and stay?
I can start. For people that what I hear the most as I walk the halls or walk the Zooms these days is that again, Ariane, you mentioned it, that we have a diverse population. That I also hear almost on a regular basis that the work is appreciated, that you're making an impact. And when you mentioned our CEO realizes that we are here because of the people that are putting in the effort to get us where we are year after year. So that level of appreciation, you definitely feel it, as you walk the halls and you walk the Zooms at Moody's.
I think it's very clear that we have a purpose and that we have it's part of the role, to be any role, to be on constant learning mode, and that's refreshing. It's part of the, I don't know if it was Dennis or Luis that said that we're growing as a company, and therefore you need everyone to be part of that growth story, and that just stretches you to the maximum, to be the best you can be every day of the week, which actually it's what keeps a lot of us here working with others that have that same sense of clarity in the direction that we're going and the purpose that we're serving.
I think for me, I was a perpetual consultant for many years, and the fact that I am a full-time employee now even sometimes is astonishing to myself. But I started in the CRE space, and I got to learn, and I learned so much there. And my ability to, I think, be able to move inside of Moody's is really cool and really powerful, because everybody is solving a slightly different problem, right? But it's all moving towards a kind of greater vision, right? And that ability for me especially, right, to always be challenged, I think is important to me personally, and I think that is why I'm building a career here.
Love those responses. I was gonna comment, close it now, but let me see. I have, I think, one last. There's just a comment. It shows Moody's has a creative environment that is wonderful, and diversity is important, and is encouraging to hear that it's a Moody's. And I would certainly agree with that statement. I think with that, we can close this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And this will be stored in Alpha Live, so you can go back to this. And please don't hesitate to contact us if you're interested in exploring more of what Moody's does and what career opportunities we have. And I really want to thank our panelists, who are very busy and important people that gave their time to share with us today their experience and their perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariane, as well.
Bye now.